Employee Library. And as you can see this week, we have quite the spread. You are getting a real labor of love again this month, and we have put out hydroponic fish kits. So hydroponics is a very earth-friendly way of growing some greens. It can be done on a very large scale, or it can be done on a very small scale, like a home garden in your kitchen or backyard. So the really kind of amazing thing about aquaponics is that it demonstrates life science and how ecosystems work and how the roots and the plants take their nutrients from the water and from waste material that other living creatures produce, and it gets broken down into nitrates and absorbed as nutrients, and the plant grows it. At the same time, it also cleans the water. And so it is just this really great example of a balanced ecosystem. And this can be done small scale, like I said, with a fish tank or in your backyard if you have a big enough system and if it's warm enough, which we don't quite make that, so we kind of have to do the indoors. But it only uses 1/10 of the water required for traditional agriculture, and saving on water is a big world issue, so that is really fun to be able to help out in those small ways. And you can also grow organic leafy greens all year round. So whether you just want some extra spices or some kale, I gave you guys in your package bean sprouts. Here I got some cucumber and some zucchini. And so we're going to sprout the seeds to start. So you will have paper towel in your kit, and you're going to dunk it in a little bit of warm water, and you're going to place your seeds inside. Just wrap them nice and neat inside. Now my seeds have already sprouted a little. I had to do a second round because I wasn't a good seed grower and I forgot about them. So their roots were nice and long and growing everywhere. And then I took about a week off and they didn't do so hot, and I had taken them out of their bag. So it's really important you water, get the cloth nice and damp but not dripping, wrap your seeds up, and then put them in the bag and zip the top, and you can lay them out in the sun or a warm spot on your counter and they will start to grow. And once they do, you're going to be taking these roots and this basket that we've created. You can see I have a string here. I've taken one string already and I've just put it in the water to make sure that none of the dyes are going to come out. Now this string is going to act as an extra root system. And so I am tying a knot in the string so it doesn't get lost. And so it stays nice and firm into our basket. And one end is going to just kind of spiral down to the bottom of the basket, and that's going to help keep the roots moist before they're long enough to hit the water. So we want to make sure we keep those roots nice and moist, otherwise they'll dry up and die. And that's one of the reasons why I brought some of my sprouts from home, because they have these nice long roots that have already grown. And so this guy, look at the length of his roots. So when he sits in the basket, whoa, I filled my aquarium too tall. When he sits in the basket, his roots are already going to touch the water. Give me a second here, guys. I would have to dump a little bit of water out of my tank because our bettas here have something called a labyrinth organ, and it lets them breathe air. So it's actually vitally important that they can come up to the surface of the water to take a breath. Isn't that interesting? I did not know that before I started researching for our project that we're doing here today. All right, give me just a sec. Okay guys, so I have been separating some of my plants and I just needed to show you. So sometimes it's not necessarily the size of how big they've grown so far, but their roots. Because this guy has the longest roots, which means he is in tip-top shape for his plant. So this guy is gonna go into our basket. All right guys, so we are back and I have our guy set up here. Now, once your seeds start sprouting, I take some of the yarn and I kind of wrap it around the bottom to kind of go over some of the roots that aren't long enough to be down in our tank yet. And that ensures that they stay nice and moist because the water will use the yarn kind of like the roots of the plant. And the roots of the plants are kind of like a straw and it sucks up the water to feed, pardon me, the rest of the plant. And so just making sure those roots are kept moist. If you'd like, you could put cleaned little rocks, or you can go to the dollar store and get some of those glass beads, pebble stones, or if you have some laying around the house, you could do that. Just make sure that they are clean before they're going in your tank. That's really important. For the happiness of our betta, I have a betta leaf hammock. This guy was $5.99 at Pat Value here in town, and in the wild they really like to rest on these. They like to rest on them close to the top of the water because, as I said before, they do breathe. So let's get that set up. And it's really important, I put this on your information sheets, but it's really important that you get things that are soft and not jagged or sharp. So, because our fish are delicate and we don't want them to get hurt by the structures in their tank. So my estimation skills have always been a little bit off. So, with this water, it's important to know that you do need to treat the tap water. In your kit, you have a water treatment. You also have active carbon. So, active carbon is used in water filtration. It's very safe. It's not going to hurt your fish. The plan is, the hope is that these plants will act as the filtration system and you won't need it. But if you stop growing things, you need cleaner water. You need something else that'll do that extra job long term. So when you're doing your water for your fish tank, I would always suggest letting it sit a couple hours to acclimate to room temperature so you don't shock your fish. And in that time, I would take just a teaspoon of your carbon, maybe half a teaspoon, put it in your water, mix it in, let it absorb and settle, and then put it in the tank. That way it's not floating around and your fish doesn't accidentally mistake it for fish food. We want them to eat the actual food. In your kits, you also have algae wafers. So break that, they're a little hard, but break them into tiny pieces because you do have a snail. And while natural algae will form on here, you will occasionally need to feed your snail. And that's part of why we have the rock. The rock, the algae will kind of adhere to the rock a little bit, and that is where your snail will graze. Also, you can give your snail little cleaned pieces of eggshell. If you do it about once a week, it'll just help boost his calcium and keep his shell nice and strong. So over here, we have a bunch of information sheets for you so that you understand how to care for your betta, the aquaponic cycle, as well as what's in this kit and how to use it, and 2 pages on fish care, specifically for your betta, because that is all really great information. So the fun bit, I'm going to put our leaf in, and then I'm going to introduce our betta and our snail to its new environment. All right, so our leaf is in there. It's looking real smart with our rock and our leaf. And we also got a little water feature. So it has a little cavern, so the snail and the betta can just take a peek around and wander. And it's just that little extra bit of magical. Oopsie. All right, guys, here we go. Woo! Okay. And now in with our basket. Perfect. It's looking like my leaf is a little bit less, a little bit more than the 3/4 of an inch down. It's a bit hard to tell when you're doing it because the glass and the water kind of skew your vision just a little bit. And now we will keep an eye on it. You might need to adjust the water levels, bring it down, bring it up a bit. My betta is already starting to swim around the roots, and this is really fun for them. They like swimming in between things. It's kind of like a little obstacle course game. It makes them feel very at home. And he's very much interested and starting to explore his environment. And by the way, for those of you who don't know, we have named this guy Mr. Gil Finley, and Cynthia would like for us to open up encouragement and comment for middle names for him, so he can have lots of names. So, aquaponics is a way to conserve water and space and grow vegetables and greens all year round. This is really important for areas that don't have a lot of space and don't have a lot of access to water as traditional agriculture demands. So this can encourage food safety and availability, which is super important and exciting. And it's also just very green, which we love to promote, especially on our Earth Month. We really hope you enjoy this. If there's anything I missed, you can feel free to leave a comment or shoot us a message. Our number is on the sheets. We really hope you enjoy this. This has been so much fun to prepare, and we hope you learn a lot about your fish and that you love these little guys and you get to eat some tasty homegrown veggies. All right, guys, take care.